Over the past couple of weeks, I've been trying out the entire Nilfisk Core range. Now that includes the 125, the 130 and the 140. And in this video, I'm going to break down which could be the best model for you. And I just want to highlight a couple of things because in my previous video, I featured a Nilfisk P180. Now before you get confused, I just want to clearly state that that machine is a completely different animal. If you're going to go for one of them, that's going to be for everyday heavy duty use. So these machines are purely for domestic use only, so you don't want to be using them 24/7 because they're not built for that. They're built for those of you who just like to clean your car on the odd weekend or do a few a month maybe at best. So let's start with the Nilfisk Core 125. Now this machine I've already done a proper full video on, and I compared it with a Karcher K4. Now if you haven't seen that video, I will put a link in the description below, so we're going to sort of skip it just a little bit here, but basically that's the entry level model. It's going to come in at £90. It's going to give you 125 bar pressure with 5 meters of cable and 5 meters of hose. It's also got a brilliant ergonomic design where everything fits into its own place, and it has got a holder for the hose once you disconnect it all, and it has got a quick release as well. So the Nilfisk Core 125 is going to be the bog standard model. Now this is going to cost you around £90 to £100 depending on where you shop. Now I'm going to be taking prices from cleanstore.co.uk because they are the company who are kindly enough to let me borrow these machines for testing. So this isn't a sponsored ad. I've got these machines, they've been tested, and now they're being returned straight after this video. And this model is going to be pretty good for those of you who don't want to spend an awful lot of money, but there isn't a massive amount of difference between this and the next one up, which I'll now show you if I put an overlay up on the screen. So there's very little difference between these two models. For the 125, the maximum bar pressure is going to be up to 125 bar, whereas the Core 130 is going to give you just an extra 5 bar of pressure maximum. You're also going to get 1 extra meter of hose, so you're going to get 6 meter of hose with the 130 as opposed to 5 meters with the 125. So they're not going to be a massively difference, and you can tell with the pricing as well. So for the Core 130, you're going to be looking around £15 to £20 extra for that model. So it's not a massive step up, but this is where it gets interesting because they have the Core 140. Now this is the machine I want to really feature the most on this video. I think it's going to probably be the best all-rounder for anybody who wants to clean their car on a sort of regular basis at home. And I want to highlight some of the features on this because I think these models, they just don't get noticed enough, and I think they're so good. And I've been trying out the power control and the in-hand power control. So both of these machines have got the same bar pressure. So they both go up to 140 bar pressure, which is pretty much more powerful than your average K4. And bearing in mind this machine is going to cost around £80 less, I think it's a real gem of a find, and I want to show you a few more cool features with these machines. First of all, the power control is going to allow you to adjust the power on the machine, whereas the in-hand power control, yep, you guessed it, you can adjust it via the lance in your hand. You've got these little arrows here to adjust the pressure. Now, that's not really something I'm going to use much anyway, because to be honest, it's just the right amount of power. It's the right amount of pressure that you're going to get out of it. Both machines have got 140 bar pressure maximum, but there is another difference. If you go for the in-hand power control, which is slightly more expensive, you do get an extra 2 meters of hose. So for the standard one, the power control, you're going to have 6 meters, but for the in-hand, you're going to get 8 meters. And for me, 8 meters wins hands down. As a rule of thumb, I like to say that 10 meters for a hose is plenty good enough to get around the car if you want to do it quite quickly. Now, I work at a very fast pace, so I'm in and out, I'm left, right and center, I'm everywhere. It doesn't always work for me. If I had an 8 meter hose, I wouldn't be able to get round the car as much as I want to because I'd be worried about having to move the machine, but it's still a massive improvement from having a 6 meter hose. It's still as good as it's going to get for the Core range. So with the Core 140 in-hand power control, I still think you're getting better value for money over the K4, purely for all the reasons that I've said. You get a better built machine. It's got an aluminium pump, it's not plastic. You've got a good 8 meter cable length, and everything fits in its own place, and it is even more powerful as well. So I couldn't see anything where the K4 would sort of tempt me to go, oh yeah, do you know what, I'm going to go for that over the Nilfisk. There's no benefits whatsoever, and with the extra money I'd sort of put it towards getting a snow foam cannon. And there's so many different ones out there that connect onto the Core range. You can even go for a stubby gun like the one I've got here, which is the SGS 28. Now that's a brilliant bit of kit. Yes, that does fit on as well. You just got to make sure you get the right adapters when you purchase it. If I was to be a little bit critical about any of the Core range, they are very light, which means they are quite easy to fall over if you pull them a little bit too hard. But I think the way they've been designed, with everything being quick release as well, when you finish it can all go away nice and easy, nice and tidy in your shed. Yeah, for me, honestly, in terms of value for money, you're going to get better bang for buck going for one of them. But I'm not going to recommend that you go for them if you are starting a detailing business, which is completely different to doing it at home like once every couple of months. Then they're not going to be the machines for you. Then I ideally recommend that you go try out the P180, or you keep your eyes peeled on the AVA videos that I've got coming over the next couple of weeks. I've got 4 models that I'm going to be testing of the AVA range, and I cannot wait to see how they're going to perform. I've only had a good look at them in person. I've not tested them yet. And if the looks are anything to go by, the build quality on them are absolutely amazing. But also stay tuned, because I have an accessories video coming up right around the corner.